Case also is that her boyfriend really severely abused the child several times. And the judge said, even though you, and I say only, hit the child with the belt, you, as the mother, are also responsible for everything he did. So you are accomplished. Medeplichtige in Dutch. For everything he did, even though you were not there, because you knew about it. And that means, and you didn't do anything to stop it. You left the child, your child, with him, and you just let it happen. You didn't protect your child. So you are just as punishable as he is. In this case, it was about a four-year-old boy who actually told in school that he was hit a lot. And the school mentioned it to the Central Reporting Center of Child Abuse, AMK, which is in Holland, in all towns, there is a AMK. And that's how the case started rolling, because the lady from the AMK took the child to a forensic medical doctor, and they started to see on his body what injuries he had. And there were lots of injuries, old bruises, but also old fractures that were not healed properly, and he was only 4. And then the prosecutor also did a house search and confiscated things like belts and shoes and all types of things where the hitting has been done with. And the forensic medical doctor, he said, well, look at this. These injuries, these type of injuries, can actually be made with the things that are confiscated from the house. So for me, as a prosecutor, and also for a judge, that means there is like objective evidence around. Because you could actually see that with those types of things that were confiscated, these types of injuries were caused. So the judge acknowledged that. He said that both defendants, so both the mother and her boyfriend, were punishable by law, and he sentenced both of them to 15 months of imprisonment, from which 5 months were on a conditional basis, with a long probation period from several years. And then during that time, they had to work with the probation department. So now you see that, it's not only about giving a prison sentence. You see forms of werkstraffen, community service were sentenced. And also, it's about setting the boundaries, okay? Because a punishment is also being done to show you what is accepted in society and what is not. So a sentence is also about a big prevention to show everybody, don't do it because you might get prosecuted and sentenced. And it's also for trying to prevent that this defendant will not do it again. In the end, obviously, it's also about the child, because in all these cases, children were involved. And in these criminal cases, you don't get an answer on the question, so, but what happened to the child? Well, for the child, there are all kinds of civil measures that can be taken. And that's exactly the topic where the next speaker will talk about, which is...
So, I actually have this speech prepared, right? And it has a bunch of statistics and a bunch of things to make you afraid of what actually happens, but I'm not going to use it anymore because a lot has already been said. Last of the barrel. So, no, what I'm going to say is actually this. There's some statistics that are really scary. Like, for example, there's a statistic that in India, rape reporting has increased by 336% in the last 10 years, right? That's a lot of percent. I can also talk about how in some countries, 1 in 10 children are raped or molested, right? 1 in 10 children. That means if there's about 60 of you here, 6 of you would be sexually molested, right? Scary statistic. But the thing is with statistics is that statistics don't tell the whole story. We say, yes, this is what it says. It says that 1,000 kids, just a number, 1,000 kids are raped every year on Sir Martin, just a number, right? 1,000 kids. But in all honesty, it's not that's how many kids are being raped. That's how many kids' rapes are being reported. There's a lot that happens in the darkness. To put a poetic spin on it, I'm going to say that abuse in entirety is like an iceberg. 10% is visible above sea level. 90% lies in darkness, right? And it's a thing, it's because we as a society have created a stigma, in a sense, that we don't want to talk about. I don't want to tell someone I'm being abused for a couple of reasons. I don't want to get my family in trouble if it's a family member doing it. I don't want to get a friend in trouble if it's a friend that's bullying me. I don't want to see my friend get expelled, though your friend shouldn't be bullying you. And it goes like that. We create this stigma, and the biggest one, for me at least, is a pride thing, right? I don't want the empathy. I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I don't want people saying, oh, well, Andrew gets beat up every day. I don't want that. I really don't. So I live with the problem, and that's the problem. I don't report. I don't get help. The wounds stay, and then the abuse cycle continues because I'm going to grow up and I'm going to do the same thing, right? Because another statistic, 60% of people who are abused abuse when they get older, right? And it's a sad fact. So the thing is, we have to speak up. And it starts with us. And by that I mean, we had sexual abuse, we had spoken about, we had abuse from parents to kids, caregivers to kids, adults to us, right? But we abuse each other. And those little jokes, you tell your friend, you're gay, right? We say it, dude, you're so gay, or my favorite one, dude, no homo. All that, though you don't see it as abuse, that it's also abuse. Let's say your friend is gay, right? It happens. It's a new world, guys. Come on, you gotta accept it, right? Your friend's gay, right? And you bully him every day about it. He will never feel comfortable about himself around you or practically around anybody, right? I had a friend like that, and quite frankly, she had ladders that crawled up her hand because she would cut herself, right? And, she just needed someone to accept her. I did. And that's the thing. Abuse stops with us. We continue the cycle, and we have to stop the cycle. It's that simple. You look to your friend. I'm going to steal one from your playbook. Look to your friend, right? Come on, guys. I want to see you guys' heads turn. Stop looking at me. Look to your friend. I am your friend, but... So, look to your friend and say, I accept you. Maybe I should have phrased this differently because you guys move. All right, center back. Right? I accept you. We're friends. You can tell me anything. Right? And that's how it's supposed to be, because we have to shed a light into the darkness of abuse. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we need to know if we want it to stop. Right? And each of you are a beacon. Each of you are that light, and you have to stop it. And it sounds repetitious, but right now I'm actually running without paper, right? So it's off the top of my head. And that's how I think it's best, because it's a very passionate topic. It's a very touchy topic. And it does make people feel uncomfortable. And that is exactly why you laugh. Because it's always, it can't happen to me. It can't happen to my friends. It can't happen to my niece. It can't happen to my nephew. It can't happen to my cousins. It won't affect me. So it's funny. And it's not. So that's it. I came here, I had the speech prepared. I don't have the speech anymore because I quite frankly put it aside, and that's because so much has been said and I want you guys to have a lot of questions. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to end it here. Quite short, actually. You're welcome. That when it boils down to it, wait, sorry, let me steal the last one. Whew. We have to help change the facts, speak up and speak out, make a difference for victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, bullying, drug abuse, everything. It stops here. We're the generation that's going to change it. When 10 years from now, when I have this speech and I'm invited to be a panelist again, because I do hope to be re-invited to be a panelist in 10 years, I want to say, you know what? Abuse on St. Martin has dropped, and not because reporting has dropped, but because abuse has actually dropped. I want to be able to say 20 years from now that no child suffers from abuse. 30 years from now, I want to make sure anyone who has abused or been abused is fixed. Because you get damaged. I've been damaged. I'm broken goods, right? But I'm still good. That's important. And that's how I end my conversation.
You know, in this room, and I'm not saying that and pointing to anybody because of the court of guardianship, I know that in this room, out of all the people you see and maybe family members or children you know for years, maybe, just maybe, 1/3 might be a lot, but at least 10 children in this room experience abuse in one form or the other. Yes. And you'll be surprised because you don't walk around in the society necessarily and then have a sign or cloud above your head saying, I'm being abused. But it happens to many of the youngsters that are around us in a schoolyard, in the street that you live, is something that happens. So then the question is, when that happens, how am I really protected, and how am I protected by law? Now, I am the director of the Court of Guardianship, and I want to tell you what the Court of Guardianship is before I explain how the law protects you in that sense. The Court of Guardianship in our law, in our civil code, which is a legal document that organizes laws and rules and regulations of your country, the civil code, it says in chapter 3 of the civil code that there is a court of guardianship in your country. The Court of Guardianship has been established in the 1970s within the Netherlands Antilles, but it establishes there that there is a legal organization that can act on behalf of minors, okay? Especially that they can intervene if these minors are threatened in their development and his or her physical and mental development. So abuse, when you're being abused, is a form that you're being threatened in your development, be it physical or mental development. And so our law, the laws of St. Martin, provides organizations such as ours that would then step up to the plate to protect you. This is also in connection with the Conventions on the Rights of the Child, which was in 1989. So 25 years, we're celebrating this year, 25 years of the International Convention of the Rights of the Child. And that means that different countries from all over the world came together and established what would be the rights of children and how would we protect children. And Mrs. Fanny mentioned already, in that Conventions of the Rights of the Child, Article 19 says you have a right to be protected, the right for protection. And how do we do that? In January of this year, the Court of Guardianship, not only because it's registered in the Civil Code, but it's registered now. We are the central reporting center on child abuse, because sometimes you can go, you can tell a friend, you can tell maybe a church leader, you can tell a leader of your youth group, you can go to the social worker of the school, you have different people in the community, or also your doctor, for instance, that would see your bruises or your hurts, and then they would be able to start out the process of helping you. But to have one central reporting center would help that not only maybe your doctor know or your school teacher knows, but will set through the process of not only healing for you as or the person that has been abused, but also the legal process for the person to be prosecuted. Because if somebody did something that's against the law, they should be prosecuted. And then justice must be done, right? And there's where Carola comes in. So there are different organizations. By us, when they report it by the Court of Guardianship, what do we do then? We have social workers that are specialized in representing the rights of the children and representing that they are protected and hearing them out. So we have a conversation with not only the minors or the person that has been abused, but also the other persons around that would be able to indicate if it's true, or the social worker for the school, how the child has been doing in school. We have in the law the opportunity, the ability to do an investigation about what the child has told us and how we can protect the child. So by us, it's about protecting the child, while by the prosecutor, it's about prosecuting the person that did the act, okay? We are there to protect the child. And once we have established that the report came in and we spoke to the minor, then our first intention is to make sure that it stops. So not that you go back, you tell us your story, and you say, okay, you've been abused, you've been hit, go back home. No, we have to start then triggering a situation that from that moment on, whatever form of abuse it was, that it stops. So if it's your parents, for instance, and it is a hitting and a beating, and we discuss with them, that's punishable by law, like you heard, it's punishable by law. And a lot of people say, but it's a part of our culture. Give them licks, take the belt, beat them. You know, they listen, I give you a slap on your face and you give back, mouth me. Those things happen. And we have to find other ways of communicating with each other. We have to deal with each other with respect. So also parents towards their children and children towards their parents, that they have to learn to talk to each other about, if something is happening that is not going according to your will, you just don't beat it out of them. You talk to them and try to establish a change in behavior. So we try to talk to the parents if it's a situation that is not severe. But it was said before, here in St. Martin also, some parents go to the extreme. They beat the children into the hospital, literally beat their children into the hospital. Or bruises, that sometimes when children come and they lift up the shirt, they have belt marks all over their skin, or even open wounds. This happens here on St. Martin, okay? And so we need to realize that it is not something, okay, it only happens with other people or far away from us in other countries, or you see it in television and we're talking fiction. We're speaking about reality. The same thing about especially sexual abuse, and it was indicated sexual abuse don't necessarily mean penetrating a child or a minor. Sexual abuse can be also touching somebody inappropriately against their will, or telling them, if you leave me, just fill you up a little bit, I'm going to give you a cell phone. You're laughing. It happens. And that's why I'm saying it, because sometimes we feel uncomfortable about talking about these things, but it happens in our community. And you all are secondary education, and the thing is, it sounds weird when an adult says it, but you talk these things amongst each other. So I'll bring it to you, break it down, right? In the secondary schools, a lot of time there is a lot of sexual sexuality or sexual intercourse taking place amongst each other, right? And if it's your peers and you give permission and your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. But there are also adults that will tell children, I got some money for you, or I would buy some nice things for you if you just give me a brush. It happens. Don't laugh about it because you all talk about it amongst each other. And it's illegal. Okay? Yeah? Another thing I want to be very clear about, whoever have sexual intercourse with a minor under the age of 14, this 14 or 15, I think it's 14, is punishable by law. If it's done with or without your permission, that person can be punished or should be punished, can go to jail. Okay? So if you're under the age of 14 and you're having sex, it's illegal. Okay? So that you know that. And the person that is having sexual intercourse with you, especially if they're over 18, should be prosecuted and is punishable. And don't pretend that it don't happen, because by the court of guardianship also, we're the ones that when the girls come and they become pregnant and they're under 18 and they get children, they can't become the legal guardian of their own children. So then we have to look for another legal guardian. And believe you me, there are many, many, many girls here in this society that are under the age of 18 that become pregnant. So you're sexually active, right or not? Okay? So these are, I just wanted the thing is one thing to say we have a right to protection and a freedom of abuse, but it's important that these kind of discussions take place, that we pinpoint what exactly is abuse. And not only what are the social, emotional, and psychological elements of it, which Dr. Judith Arnell is very specialized in, and not only who is punishable by law and how the sentence will be, but it's very important to pinpoint that you yourself, you can do something about abuse happening in this society. If it's not abuse against you yourself, but against somebody else that you know, your friend, your cousin, your brother, or your sister, that there is an organization where you can go to and report this. And that this organization has the authority to do something about the situation and to make it stop. Because that is what we want to do. We have to break the cycle of abuse. Okay? Later on, you'll have the opportunity to ask me all kind of questions. It happens in this society, abuse against small children, not only beating, but also sexual abuse against teenagers, all forms of abuse. But also, and I saw you all were quite stirred about it, sex against a male with teenage boys. That happens in this society, and we need to speak up and make it stop. Okay? So, yeah, this is my part.
Nina, don't tell me you're going to meet this boy again.
But mommy, you never even meet the boy. Besides, he dropping a new track next week, so you know. I ain't gonna be in a music video.
Track? Girl, you foolish man. You don't have enough weave in your bedroom already. What you talking about track?
Mommy.
Nina.
Mommy, track as in music? Where are you?
Nina, I warning you about this boy. I warning you. You don't listen to my spirit.
Okay. Good night. Good night. Where you bring this girl for?
How much time is it till you don't keep me waiting?
Don't keep us waiting. But babe, you know how to fix up for you and thing?
Fix up and you still look so?
But now, this is me thinking you love this dress, but you don't like this dress?
Not a tall girl, you look like you robbed Salvation Army.
You don't like it, Nina?
Why you wearing?
When you know I seen you, girl, I have an image to keep. Don't come behind me with no nonsense, eh?
Tell she again. And she got an attitude, the boy ring that slap. Yo, let me roll, boy. Let me roll.
Nina,
Good night, good night.
don't tell me you don't see the. Nina, what's that? Don't tell me you make that vagabond hit you. Nina, what?
It's nothing. We can talk about this tomorrow.
Tomorrow? What you mean tomorrow? Nina?